Hello, thank you for joining Temenos Digital. My name is Aaron, and today we're starting a new series on T24. We are going to see T24 fundamentals. And the first topic in this series is navigation through classic user interface. Why do you need classic user interface? Well, a classic user interface can boost your productivity while working with T24. It is fast, and it does not require any special installation and can work from any computer as long as you have access to the terminal. We're going to see things like how to access jshell. So if you have been doing T24 programming, you already know how to access the jshell prompt. Okay, so this is going to be very fast. And then you're going to move to how to log into T24. Of course, I'm sure most of you already know how to log into T24. But if you are new to T24, I'm going to show you how you can log into T24 and get back to the jshell prompt when you want to. And then I'm going to explain to you the layout of T24 classic user interface. So if you look at T24 user interface, it looks like this. So we're going to understand what all the components here mean and how to get along with this, okay? Then after that, we're going to see all the commands and keyboard shortcuts that you use when you're navigating through classic user interface. After that, we move to working with MultiValue Fields. So how to extend a multi-value, how to delete a sub-value or a multi-value. And then we will see T24 functions. Maybe I will touch T24 function before working with multi-value, okay? And then I have a bonus for you. I'm going to show you some tips which can improve your productivity when working with T24 classic user interface. Things like copying records, displaying help in the terminal, customizing your terminal, using Vogue, and so on. So without further ado, let's jump into practical session. Thank you. Typically, when you want to log into T24, you can either use Telnet or SSH. So in my case, I use Telnet. Telnet runs on port 23 by default. So if your administrator did not change the port, you can just type Telnet and the IP of your server or your server name. Okay, in my case, my server is called matsrv01. So if I hit enter, it connects, and here you put your operating system user. So my operating system user, or my OS user, is T24. And then I need to put my password, okay? Now, you will get this prompt. Start Globus, yes or no. So you have two options. If you select yes, you won't be able to go back to jshell prompt. So for you to access to the jshell prompt, you can type N or just enter. So here we are on the jshell prompt. Okay, now from here you need to select the terminal if you want to log into T24. So far we have completed this. Now let me show you the terminals, that the options you have. So let's log out, type exit to terminate the connection, and let's now here put our username and password, and let's select yes to log in to T24. If you look at here, we have a prompt which says enter the terminal type, and here is the list of the terminal type which you can use. So these are system, terminal, and these are user defined terminals. Whichever terminal you want to select, you just put the number corresponding to the terminal. The most used terminal for T24 is this number 4, EBS JBase. So you type 4 and we get this prompt. Here you put your T24 username. So I put mine and you put your password. Well, I'm already in T24. Now, if I want to go to the jshell prompt, I cannot. So if I do BK, as you can see, I lost connection. So if you want to be able to jump from jshell to T24 and T24 to jshell, what you need to do on the first prompt here, after your operating system user name and password, you type enter or N. Okay? If I put enter, I get to the jshell. Now from jshell, how do you get to T24? Well, you need to select the terminal. To select the terminal, so here as you can see, we use this ETS. And after selecting the terminal, we need to invoke an application called EX. So execute. Well, now as you can see, we get the same prompt. Username, our username, and our T24 password. Now here I'm in T24. If I want to go back to the jshell prompt, I can either type BK or LO, or I can do this, LO, logout. They're both the same, okay? So I hope now you understand how to get to the jshell and how to log into T24. Good. Now let's try to understand the layout of this user interface. So after logging into T24, you will see this. Here we have our instruction bar, okay? This one. For now, it is saying awaiting for application. And here we have an action box, and you enter your action from here, okay? We have the information related to the current user. And here on the top, I have the company I logged into. Now, let's perform the first action. It's saying awaiting for application. So let's use application user, okay? After that, it says awaiting function. Let's use a function like I, input. We talk about functions later. For now, I stands for input. If you want to modify a record or create a new one. And then it says awaiting ID. So this is the unique identification of a record. I need to provide a valid ID. Let's work with Aaron 3. It's a valid ID. Now, as you can see here, we have all the details. So we have now instruction saying awaiting page instruction, okay? If you look at here, there's a page 1 out of 6. So this is the next action I can perform. Here on the top, I have the ID, the record which I have opened. What is the ID of that record, okay? It will be displayed here. And here on the top, we have our company name along with the description of the application which I'm working with. For now, I'm working with user profile. And the function, the current function which I have entered. If I type customer, as you can see, I get customer here at the top, okay? Because the description of the customer is a MultiValue field with different languages. Now, here I can say the function I, the same. Let's try to input my customer record. Okay, as we can see, we have customer code or the ID of the record. It displays here, and here we get another instruction. We have page 1 out of 13. While here we have page 1 out of 6. But the layout of records is the same. So we have our instruction bar. We have the action we need to take. We have the details here. We have the record ID. We have our application, which we're working with, and the function which we have entered. And here is the company we are in. So we are in the company called R8 Model Bank. Okay. Let's move to the command. Okay. So we're going to start with how do we move next? If you look at here, it's saying awaiting for page. So let's move to the next page. To move to the next page, we can type Ctrl F and enter. Okay, as you can see, it moves automatically to the next page. Now, if you are using reflection, Terraterm, these keys are already mapped. Okay, and in a putty or putty, you can map the keys. If your keys are not mapped, this will work. This will always work, either using reflection or Terraterm or any other emulator, any other terminal emulator. So this will work. To move to the next record or to the next page, depending on the instruction, you use Ctrl F, enter. If the keys are mapped, you can use F3. F3 or Ctrl F, enter can also be used to get a new record automatically if the application has auto ID configured. Okay. Now to move to the previous, now we're on page 2. How do we move to the previous page? I type Ctrl B, enter. As you can see, I'm back to the first page. Okay. Now, to validate or to commit, let's say if I make changes, let me change the user record. Okay. Let me change the department. Put the department as 1. Okay. So I've made the change. If I want to commit, I can type Ctrl V, enter. User C. As you can see, there's a change. If you want to exit without saving the changes, what you can do, you can type Ctrl U, enter. For example, let's modify again, maybe I'll say 2. Okay. Now, if I don't want to save these changes, suppose you've made a mistake, you don't want to save the changes, what you can do, you can type Ctrl U, enter, and you get this prompt: override, return, and may lose input. Okay, this is what you want, you type Y, or if you want to go back, you can type no. As you can see, nothing happens. But if I do yes, I go back, and the record will still have the previous status. Okay. If I want to move to the last page, so I'm the first page. If I do Ctrl E, enter, I move to the last page. This is super important, especially say if you want to authorize a record, you already know the details. So you can automatically go to the last page and commit the changes. Now, to move to the particular field, let's say I want to go to field 9.1. I want to change the country. I can type 9.1 and it takes me to that field. Now, a particular note how to work with MultiValue field. MultiValue field have special treatment. Let me amend this user. Now, how do we work with MultiValue? So, MultiValue field has dot. So this is how you recognize multi-valued field. So 5 is a multi-value field. First value, second value, third value, fourth value of the same field called company code, which is field 5. Also, field 10 is a multi-valued field. Now, suppose we want to add to this user a new company, okay? So a user has already access to 4 companies. Let's add the 5th one. We're going to add AU001. Suppose you want to insert this company between number 4 and number 3. So we can move to 5.4 and do this one. So we're going to insert above this. We hit enter. We get a place where to insert a new company. So we do AU001 0001. Okay? Good. So it's like, this is how you do it. Now, of course, you can validate this input or you can discard it. If you don't want to save these changes, as you have seen, you can do Ctrl U, enter, and it will warn you. So if you return, you may lose your input. If you don't want to save, of course, you want to lose the changes. You type yes. Okay? For a sub-value field, we have 2 dots. Let's move. This is a sub-value field. Let's say if you want to add accounts for this user, we can do 16.1.1. Let's say this is the account. Okay. Now, how do I extend this field? I want to extend above. So I position below, if on a field below, and you can use now the closing parentheses, and it extends this sub-value. So the way you extend a sub-value and a multi-value is different, okay? Now here I can put another account number, another account, okay? Good. So this is how we work with sub-value and multi-value. Now, if I want to delete a particular sub-value, so I'm positioned here, you just type minus and enter, and it is gone. Now, of course, if it is 1, you cannot use minus. It won't work. Okay? Like here, if I try to do minus and enter, it won't work. The way you just delete, you put enter, and the value is gone. So I don't want to save. So I think we're progressing very well. Now let's see the functions. There are different functions that you can use in T24. So I've listed the most used, but there's also 2, which means second authorization. Now, to view a record, you use S. So if you want to see a record in read-only mode, if you don't want to change the record, for example, I may want to see the user C here. So I cannot perform any modification. The things which I was doing, like moving to the particular field, will not work in C mode. Let's try. We type in 9. Say if you want to move to this field, 9. If I hit enter, you see it does not work. I can't move to this because I'm not allowed to modify this record. But I can still move forward to the next pages and go back. This will work. So the mode you will see here, it's C or view. Okay. The other one is I for input. We just seen input if you want to change the record and so on. Now, after modifying a record, you can either authorize the record or delete the exception. So if you modify a record, let's do that. So let's open this user and user I, run 3. So by the way, you can combine all the 3 steps in one. So here we have user as an application, we have a function I and the record ID. So this is how this becomes very productive. So you can type the 3 in one go. So now let's modify the company. Let's add a new company. Okay. I move to 5.4. I want to insert in between here. Okay. I do AU 001 Good. Now I need to commit these changes. To commit, as we have just seen, we do Control V and enter. Okay, I hope you remember here. So I do Control V, enter. I'm done. Now I need to use another user like this one, Aaron 2. Now how do I see the changes made to the user? So again, the application and function I want to perform. Okay, what do I want to perform? I want to authorize, okay, the changes. To authorize, the function is A. What do I want to authorize? Is a record with ID Aaron 3. Hit enter and I can see the changes that were made by the user. So the changes that were made are highlighted here. On field 5.4, we have now this AU001. But previously we had GB001004. But again, it was moved to field 5.5. So I can go to the next page to see if there are no other modification. So as I can see, there's only one modification that was done to this user record. If I agree with the user, then I can commit. So by doing Control V, enter, I authorize the record. Automatically, as you can see, the record is authorized. So if I try to authorize it again, as you can see, an authorized record missing. Okay? Because it is already authorized. Now I can view this record to see really if it has been authorized. As you can see, the record is already authorized. Let's make another modification. And instead of authorizing, we delete the changes. Okay? We delete an authorized record. Let's do that. Let's modify the number of attempts. For that, we need to change the record to make a change on a record, we use function I. Okay? And the record ID, we want to modify the number of attempts. So I don't see number of attempts here, so I move forward. The number of attempts is field 13. Type 13. Let's say we want to increase to 9. Control V, enter. Okay. So I commit. After committing, so use the C, Aaron 3. As you can see, it is a change here which is not authorized. And the record status is unauthorized. So after doing this, after viewing, if I don't agree with the changes, I can ask the user who inputted this transaction to delete the record, or if I have the right to delete the changes of another user, I can do that. So let's delete the changes. So if I do user, and the action I want to perform is delete. So delete will delete unauthorized record. So it will not delete the live record. So if I do delete Aaron 3, what the system will do, it will delete the changes that were made on this user, which are pending for authorization. So now I get a warning. You are about to delete a work of another operator, because this record was modified by this user, Aaron 2, and I want to delete the changes which do not belong to me. So if I type Y, the changes will be deleted. If I type no, they won't be deleted. But let's try to do the same with the original user, the one who performed the modification. So if I do user delete Aaron 3, as you can see, I don't get any warning. So I can go on and delete. So Control V, enter. It's done. So if I perform C, if I view this record, as you can see, it is authorized and the changes did not happen. So I still have my previous record and with the number of attempts 5. Okay. Now let's see how to copy a record. Okay. Suppose you want to create a user with similar rights as Aaron 3. Okay. What you can do user I. So like you want to amend the user, original user 3. Okay. And if I go back, Control U, enter. Instead of putting here the ID, I can put C, meaning a copy, and enter. Here on the top, I see copy. Now I can put the new ID. Let's say I want to create a user code with the ID team 1. Okay? As you can see, the ID is team 1, but the rest of the details belong to Aaron 3. So here I can go on. The one I say team Smith, and I can say, let's say, the synonym Smith 01. Okay. Good. Now, reverse. Reverse is used for a live record. So you don't delete a live record, but you can reverse. Suppose a user leaves the company. You need to delete that user from the system, okay? Since the record is live, you cannot use delete function. What you can do, you can reverse, okay? If you reverse, the record is taken from live to history. So let's perform that action and see. Can do user, function is error. Let's reverse this user iron 3. Enter. So the user is reversed, but this reversal is in exception, okay? So if I view the status of this user, I will see that we have reversal unauthorized, okay? Now, if I want this to go completely, what I can do, I can ask the authorizer to authorize so this record, the reversal. But if the reversal was a mistake, I can delete because it is an unauthorized record, okay? So I can do user delete error 3. Now I say, do you want to delete the reversal status? Yes. Okay? Because I reversed this user by mistake. And so if I view this user, the status was still as previous. It's okay. Okay? So you reverse a record, I need to authorize the reversal as well. Now let's move to function V, which stands for verify. Not all the applications uses this function V, okay? Suppose you are modifying a user I, 3, okay? You open this record in input mode. When you open a record in input mode, you get a lock, okay? So no other modification can be done on this record, meaning this record is locked by this user. Now assume for whichever reason you get disconnected like this, okay? So if that happens, you need to use the function V to unlock that transaction. How you do that? So the application is called record.lock, okay? Let's list. If we list this, we have one record which is locked, and this is user unauthorized error 3. So we move to that record, and we use function V, okay? Enter. And we, as you can see, the application is active record locks. The function is verify. And here are the details of the record. Now, if I want to unlock this record for the user to continue again the modification, I can validate. Now, if I list again, no locks, okay? So this is how you unlock a transaction. We use function V. How do you view live records? So we've seen how to view one user, one record, which is locked. But we've just used this function L to view all the records. Similarly, I can list all the users in the system. I do user L. So you can see I have all the users. I can move forward to see all the users, okay? Similarly, we can also view customers. Same, okay? You do customer, L. How do you view exceptions? Meaning all the transactions which have been modified or created but not authorized, or records. assume we want to see all the fund transfer transactions which were created but not authorized. We use FT, which is fund transfer, and E exception. We see all the fund transfer transaction in hold status and in unauthorized. Okay, so here you won't see any live record. Good. I think we've covered all the functions, but as a bonus, what if you want to search for a particular transaction? But now, how do you search for a history record? Okay, so for that you use L semicolon L. So I can say FT L semicolon L. So this we search from history record. FT from history. This, and I type 2 equals the account number, enter. As you can see, these are the FTs in history corresponding to that debit account. Now, how do I search from a live file? Okay, for that you use L space L. Can perform the same, equals, enter. Great. So I think we've covered a lot on functions. You now know how to use all the functions on T24 Classic. Now let's move to some advanced topics, some tips. Basically, we've covered everything which you will be using to navigate through Classic. But there's some tips which I want to show you, which are very useful. Let me demonstrate some tips, like how do you list a record? Suppose you are modifying this user, okay? Use the same user, user I, Aaron 3, and you want to change the language. You go to feed 4. Now, here we have 1. What if you want to change to Spanish? Okay. If I don't know the code for Spanish, I keep guessing 2, it's not the 1. 3, not the 1, and so on. But there's a better way to do this. What you can do, you can put exclamation here, okay, and do enter. It automatically opens the linked application. Now we can perform list. You can list live record in this application. So as you can see, I'm still editing this user because I have user profile input, and the record ID is Aaron 3, but now I have access to application called language, and I have all the records, okay? So now I see all the IDs, all the options. Now if I need Spanish, I see it's 4. I can go to 4, type 4, and if I do C, meaning a copy, and validate, as you can see, automatically get the record here. So effortlessly, without moving away and go and search or opening a new session and search for the language, I can automatically pick the record here. Okay? So this is super cool, right? Now, how do you view the help? Okay, suppose you're working with this user and you don't know what this classification mean. Okay, in that case, what you do, you put exclamation mark and enter. Boom, automatically you get the help, which says field number 3, which is equals to classification, and you get the help. You say it indicates whether a user is internal, employee of the bank using Globus, or an external customer. So you have two options, and you see how it is used. It can either be int or ext. Int for an employee, ext for external user or a customer. Boom. You have access to help. Okay? So these are super useful tips which can help you to boost your productivity while working with T24 Classic User Interface. So now the last tip I want to show you will require some advanced techniques, and it's not always safe, so use it very cautiously. Okay, now as you can see here, I have this color. Okay, my user, when I logged into this session, it's green, blue, red, and so on. But if I go back and I logged into with a different user like Aaron1, it's black and white. Okay, how do I do this? How? You can ask. So if you know, pause the video and in the comment let me know. Okay, if I do Aaron2, everything is in color, different colors. So how do I change my terminal? Well, super simple. Okay, remember I told you when you log into T24, the first thing you do is to select the terminal. So we're doing ETS, and when you do ETS, we selected this terminal. Okay, it's saying EBS JBase. So this is the terminal which is selected. Now if I do ETS1, I see a different terminal. Okay, NC color. So this is the one I created. Okay. How do I do that? Basically use an application called Voc, which is vocabulary. So all these ETS and like when I type A1 or A2 are stored in an application called Voc. So you can amend a record in Voc using JET. So let's see how I did that. So I do JET Voc ETS1. Boom. As you can see here, we have, whenever you type ETS1, the system is going to invoke EBS terminal dot select. So it's going to select the terminal with the name NC color. But if I type ETS, just ETS, this is the one which gets invoked, EBS JBase. So if you are curious, go and create your Voc to invoke a different terminal. Okay, so how do you get the terminals? I hope you remember, we've seen this. Basically, after logging in, let's do that. Let me log in. Here, if I type Y, I can see all the terminals which is available. So go ahead and select any other, select blue, whatever, and see what happens. Because if I do 27, as you can see, it's different. Okay? So if you want this to be your default, you can create a Voc record and have access to it. Good. So let me go back. So thank you. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. You now know how to use classic user interface. I highly encourage you to practice and practice until you get comfortable. I know we have covered a lot in one video, but I promise you, once you master the navigation in a classic user interface, you will enjoy it. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you have enjoyed watching this video, please like it and share this with your friend. In our next video, we are going to see how to navigate through browser. So stay tuned. See you next. Bye bye.